Hi guys, and welcome to this video. Today's video is actually sponsored by Ohuhu, and I've worked with them on a few projects sort of over the past couple months, and so when they came to me with this video idea, I was like, yes, this is gonna be so fun. They sent me their new skin tone marker set to try out, and I was really excited to try these. I actually really enjoy their markers. So to have like a specific skin tone set, it sounded like a lot of fun. So to try this out, I decided to do 4 different skin tones to kind of put the set to the test, see kind of how it performs over a range of different tones. We're going to go from light colors to medium colors to dark colors, and we'll be able to see like how it does well and maybe what it's not so good at. And yeah, this is going to be my 100% honest opinion. This is a sponsored video, but Ohuhu wanted me to kind of share my real, genuine opinions. So that's what this is going to be. The set definitely has some areas where it's really strong. It definitely has some areas where it needs a little work. So we're going to go through all of those. First of all, we're starting with the light skin tones. And this is an area I felt like the set was kind of lacking in. There aren't very many good, like really, really light colors. I thought that the lightest color was too dark and too orangey, so there wasn't really a good kind of light base color that you can use. Kind of like in Copic markers, I always use like E000 as my lightest base color. It didn't really have that. This orangey color, this peachy color I'm putting down right now, was like the lightest peachy color in this set. And I mean, maybe it could work, but I just felt like if I had just put that down as a base, it would have looked like an Oompa Loompa. So I definitely, that's something where this set needs to improve. If it had like 1 or 2 just light colors, I feel like it would be awesome. But yeah, it's just missing. So I thought that it'd be cool to go over sort of my technique if I am using a set that doesn't really have the light colors that I want to create believable light skin tones. And that I just use the white of the paper as the base and kind of blend into that. So the white of the paper stays as your lightest color, and then you go in and you add, I use the yellow color for highlights and kind of like a glow on the face, and I use the peachy colors as shading and the kind of light mauvey pink as blush. And with this technique, the colorless blender is going to be your best friend to kind of blend out the harsh edges into the white. So I do this technique a lot if I don't have a really light color on hand. And another tip for this is that if you feel like your skin tone, and this isn't just for light colors, like across the board, if you feel like the skin tone you've created is not as even as you would like it to be, freckles will literally hide anything. So I'm going in here and adding freckles across the face and on her shoulders, and it kind of just brings it all together and blends everything together and just makes the skin tone feel a lot more believable. So you'll see me do this in so many drawings. It works so well. It hides like all manners of drawing sins. So it's a great technique. Another thing I like about this set is that it's kind of like a complexion set in that a lot of the colors can work really well for hair colors as well. So like this red tone, it's like the perfect like redhead sort of hair color, but it also works really well under sort of mid to darker skin tones as like a blush, or kind of adding warmth to the skin as well. So that's pretty cool that they have the kind of versatility in the colors like that. So many skin tones are just like ranges of just the same undertone tan, you know, and this has a lot of versatility. So that was how the set works for light skin tones. Let's move on to something a little bit darker. So this is where I think that the set really does shine. It has a lot of really good kind of mid to dark skin tone options and blending options with those skin tones. And I wasn't really surprised by that because from what I've kind of experienced with Ohuhu, they definitely love their kind of saturated, like mid to dark tones. So if you're someone who likes drawing the kind of mid to dark skin tones, this set is going to be great for you. If you're someone who primarily draws light skin tones, not so much. One thing I want to point out here is a technique I use for, shading skin is that you can go over, put down your base, and then you go over with a second layer of that base. And it adds kind of a slightly darker just shade to it without being too extreme. Like this dark color, if I'd gone straight in with that, it would have been like too much. But just adding the second layer, like you can layer up the colors and it gets darker the more layers you add. So that's something you can definitely put to good use when you're shading skin tones, because obviously you don't want it to be like super harsh in the shading unless you're doing like a really harsh light type thing. But yeah, so a little aside, but that's kind of a technique that I use. One thing I want to point out with this set is like, I think this is the standout color in the set, and that is, it's the one I'm using right now. It's called BR208, and it's like a very kind of poppy peach color that's almost like luminous in a way. I don't want to say it's neon, but it's very like punchy. And I found that this color blends so well over any skin tone. Like even if you're using a darker skin tone, it doesn't lift the color like what sometimes happens if you're using a lighter alcohol marker over a darker one. It doesn't lift the color. It just adds like this glowy, almost like lit from within quality to the skin, and it makes kind of the whole skin tone feel alive. And it worked from light skin tones to medium skin tones. You're going to see later in the video I use it over a very dark skin tone, and it just adds that kind of glowy quality. So I love this marker. This marker is like my favorite in the whole set. It's just so versatile. And yeah, I guess one thing I would say, you can probably tell from this drawing, is that the whole set leans quite warm. If you look at the swatches from the beginning of the video, every single color in the set is a warm toned color. And there is kind of like a balance to be had with skin tone sets in that you don't want it to be too neutral to where they're almost swinging a little green, because then they just look dead and lifeless. But if you go too warm, then you're into like Oompa Loompa territory. And yeah, there's definitely some colors in this set that swing a little bit towards Oompa Loompa. There are some weird oranges and some weird yellows that I personally just didn't find any use for. I mean, maybe it could be used as like a blush or an undertone, but I don't know. I thought that those particular colors could have been swapped out for one, more believable, very light colors, and two, potentially a less warm mid-tone color. So to get believable skin tones, I like using like a combination of warm tones and cool tones and sort of neutral tones. If you actually look at the face, there are different areas of the face that are more green toned, that are more blue toned, that are more red toned. And when you're working with a set that is all kind of warm and orange toned, you can't necessarily get that kind of undertones, those variety of undertones in the face. So like, for example, I always like using a blue and a purple when I do skin tones. And like, I know that's not a typical skin tone color. It's kind of like, alien skin tones, but blue and purple in shading can add like a lot of dimension to a piece. I personally don't really like adding my deep dark shadings as a darker version of the same color of the skin tone, if that makes sense. I like adding some cool tones in there because I find that it does create a lot more contrast and a lot more dimension in the face. So that was kind of something I was missing in this set. And yeah, I mean, maybe not everyone kind of does skin tones like that. I know a lot of people do just use kind of a variety of tones on the same kind of color that they're working with. But I like having my blues and my purples, and I definitely felt a little like lost without them. But yeah. you guys can see I'm using that kind of BR208 color, my favorite color in the set, on this skin tone as well, and it just adds such a nice glow. This is a little bit of a, I'd still call this a mid-tone skin tone, but it's definitely a little lighter than the one we just worked on. And you know, the colors in this range just blend really well. So I'd really call this a mid-tone skin tone set. You know, that's what it is. If you like doing mid-tone skin tones, or if you feel like you have like a hole in your marker collection in the kind of mid skin tone range, or even like a darker skin tone range, you'll see it works really well with the darker colors too. This is a good set for you. Ohuhu markers, I mean, I find the ink to be perfectly fine. I've used Copic markers before. Yeah, they work great. I don't really notice much of a quality difference. The main thing is they don't have refills, which kind of sucks. And you can't buy individual markers, which again kind of sucks. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do when some of these markers start running out. Like, what do you even do? Just having those refills with Copics is so great, and these markers don't have it. But they're a really good kind of introduction because they are much more affordable than Copics. So could be a great set for you if you want an introductory set to markers and you like drawing sort of mid to dark skin tones. That's just kind of my opinion on the set. But right now we're gonna start a really dark skin tone, and this was kind of interesting for me because dark skin tones are not something I have drawn a lot of because I've never felt like I really had the colors for it. And I really do enjoy the dark tones in this set. They're like the perfect amount of warm versus cool tones. They're not too orange, but they're also not too gray. They're just really good colors. And another thing I want to point out is the sort of blush colors that you have in the dark range of this set are almost like a mauvey sort of purpley color, which I thought worked so nicely over darker skin tones. For me, like finding a blush color that looks believable on darker skin tones is like a struggle. So I really enjoyed those kind of mauvey deep colors in this set. And there really were like a good range of browns that kind of layer nicely over each other and aren't too harsh. You know, I see so many sort of skin tone sets, they get into the dark range and they get like a nice sort of base color and then they just go boom, so dark, and like you can't even blend those together. And there was a lot of colors sort of in the dark range that do blend very nicely together. So I really appreciated that, and it kind of made this sort of excursion into trying darker skin tones a lot nicer and happier for me, because it's definitely something that's outside of my comfort zone. Again, this is that color that I love, that BR208 color, the really poppy peach color, and you can see how it performs over even like a really dark skin tone like this. It doesn't add a ton, like you can't see it super well, it just adds like this luminous quality. And I need to stop ranting about this color, but I'm gonna use this color so much in like every skin tone I draw from now on. It's just so great. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Overall, I would say, you know, this marker set is pretty good. It definitely has some holes, light colors, definitely leans a little warm. But if you do like kind of the mid to dark skin tone range, it's a good set. If you like light skin tones, maybe not so much. And there are a few just kind of weird colors in there. I'm gonna put a link below where you guys can get this set if you wanted to try it out. And just thank you so much for Ohuhu for letting me sort of try out the set and share my opinion. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.